Yesterday marks the release of the fifth and final version of the version 3.2 beta, and with that, we're pretty much looking at the finalized kits for both Casteries and Anaxa. At this point, any major reworks are very unlikely, so if you've been waiting to see where they land before making any decisions, this is it. What we see now is most likely what we'll be getting in the live version. In this video, I'll be going over the final changes for both characters, sharing some personal thoughts along the way, and helping you decide whether they're worth your pulls or skips. Save up to 23% on the current banners at lootbar.gg. All you need is your UID and server. The link is in the description. Let's start with Casteries, because once again, she's caught a bit of attention, and this time for the better. She actually got buffed again in this final patch, which honestly wasn't something I expected. Her enhanced skill has been tweaked. It went from 24% up to 30%, and from 42% all the way to 50%. That's a solid improvement. This might seem like a small change at first glance, but when you remember that Casteries already received a string of buffs earlier in the beta, this is more of a final polish to what's shaping up to be a really well-rounded character. And there's more, her second Eidolon was also buffed. Instead of restoring 20% of her ultimate's maximum stack count like before, it now restores 30%. That means more frequent access to her ultimate's full potential, which just makes her that much more consistent and satisfying to use. Now, if you've been keeping up with community opinions, you probably know how mixed the reactions have been. Some players felt Castorice was already strong enough and didn't need further upgrades. Meanwhile, others believed she still wasn't quite there yet, especially for a character that's meant to be a centerpiece of the Amphorius storyline. Kind of like how Acheron used to represent Penacony's arc, they see Casteries as the main character of this chapter, and therefore expected her to be absolutely top tier. And looking at where she is now, well, that second group probably feels vindicated. The developers clearly gave her a bit more love, and she's shaping up to be a powerful pick for anyone who wants a flexible, supportive unit with strong synergy potential. I'd love to hear your take on this. Do you think the buffs were justified, or did she not really need them? Now, moving over to Anaxa, the mood shifts a little, and I'll be honest, this one stings a bit. First, let's talk about his new signature light cone. Yes, it was completely changed, and while at first it might sound like a downgrade, I actually think it's a buff, depending on how you build him. The old version increased his crit rate, gave him bonus energy, and inflicted a defense reduction on enemies. The new one removes that crit rate boost, but in exchange, it gives a massive 60% bonus to damage. It still provides the same energy regeneration and defense reduction. So while crit builds may need a bit more investment, the overall damage potential went up significantly. But then we get to the talent nerf. Originally, if enemies had more than 5 stacks of weakness, Anaxa would deal 40% more damage. Now, that bonus has been reduced to 30%. It's not the end of the world, but considering this change came alongside a stronger light cone, it's hard not to see it as a balancing move. Still, it feels like a bit of a loss for those hoping he'd come out of beta swinging. The biggest change, though, is to his 6th Eidolon, and this is where things get interesting. The old version gave him a stacking bonus of up to 30% increased damage. Not terrible, but also not very exciting. Now, the 6th Eidolon boosts his damage by 130% of his base damage, a much more impactful upgrade. And on top of that, it unlocks both of his conditional trace effects at all times, no matter your team composition. For anyone unfamiliar with his traces, one gives Anaxa increased crit damage when he's the only erudition character on the team, and the other boosts the entire team's damage when you're running 2 or more erudition characters. Normally, you'd have to choose one or the other based on your team setup, but at Eidolon 6, you just get both, no questions asked. Now, of course, there's a catch. It's locked behind E6, so unless you're planning to whale, you won't be seeing that full potential. But at least now, his final Eidolon actually feels like a meaningful upgrade instead of a minor bonus. Some characters are designed to fit into very specific playstyles, and that's okay. If you're interested in Anaxa's gameplay or just like his character, you'll be getting a solid, well-designed unit, and if not, this is an easy skip with no regrets. So yeah, this beta felt like a bit of a roller coaster, especially with how much both Casteries and Anaxa went through over the past few weeks. If you've been keeping up with the updates, I hope these videos helped make everything a bit clearer and saved you some time digging through scattered info. If you found this one helpful, feel free to drop a like or share your thoughts in the comments. Save up to 23% on the current banners at lootbar.gg. All you need is your UID and server. The link is in the description.